In this video, I would like to talk with you about the color red. Now, before we start with this video, I should perhaps emphasize the importance of color branding. Whether it's now your own website, the website background, whether it's the writing on your website, or for instance your store, whether it's a Shopify store or something else, or whether it's the product itself, color branding is extremely important. And I want to emphasize now here in this video that neglecting color branding is basically one of the first steps in order to make your site as less converting as possible. So what we want to do is, of course, we want to have a website or a store or a product that gets people to buy. Now, in order to get people to buy, we need to understand their psyche and we need to understand basic psychological concepts. Now, what I want to do with you here in this video is I would like to present you, first of all, what exactly the color red stands for and what we associate with different shades of red. So let's actually start with the general definition of what the color red represents. Now, of course, the color red is often associated with things such as blood, or perhaps even love, or energy, or war, or danger, strength, power, determination, passion, and desire. Now, often when you go, for instance, let's say to a lingerie store, often these kinds of stores, they're colored in, for instance, red, because the color red is representing desire or passion, love, or something like that. But also, on the other hand, red could represent something quite dangerous. Now, whether it's certain books or propaganda, often when we think, for instance, back to Nazi Germany or to any kind of dictatorship, when you look at the propaganda, most of the time, the propaganda is in red. Now, especially nowadays, let's say we look to totalitarian states such as, let's say, North Korea or something like that. When we look at the propaganda that they are publishing, most of the propaganda is colored in red, or there's a huge influence of red, because red gives energy. Red is, well, also of course connected to desire for a better life, for a certain world order or something like that. But also, of course, red is connected with blood, it is connected with war, with danger. So for instance, when we are bleeding, we know, all right, this is a danger. So we have to do something about that. And when you see red around you all the time, you're always in the mode of defending or attacking. Because again, the color red is all about war and danger, but on the other hand, of course, it is also about love and desire. Now, there are different shades of red, of course, and I want to cover with you, first of all, light red, then afterwards pink, then dark red, brown, and reddish brown. So let's start with light red. Now, the influence that light red has on the customer is huge, because light red is one of the most used colors in branding. Now, of course, pink is also often used, but for instance, dark red, brown, or reddish brown are most of the time not really used in online stores or, for instance, in product branding. So we have to focus on light red and on pink. Now, light red is often representing sexuality, passion, sensitivity, or love. And for instance, and this is the example that I already brought up, when you, for instance, look at a lingerie store, most of the time they use the color light red in order to, for instance, associate the products with sexuality, with passion, with sensitivity, and with love. Now, for instance, let's say you see a lingerie store and you see, all right, the store is in yellow. Would that in any way remind you of love? For me personally, it would not. Same thing applies to, for instance, the color green. If there's a lingerie store in green, I wouldn't really associate, let's say, love with it, or sexuality, passion, desire. I don't associate that with green, and I think most of you out there will probably not associate it as well. So, for instance, a lingerie store works very well with the color red or light red. That's why many lingerie stores are actually in that color, or the branding is in that color. Then number two, or the second shade, let's say, of red is pink. Now, pink represents on one hand, of course, friendship, but on the other hand, it also represents romance or love. And I think I don't have to tell you that, pink is probably one of the most used colors for little girls. Now, for instance, every little color or every little product that girls buy, whether it's a Barbie or whether it's some kind of toy car or something like that, most of them are pink, because pink doesn't just represent friendship, but also somehow girls seem to like the color. Now, there is some kind of natural instinct, or whatever you want to call it, that gets girls to be interested rather in the color pink than in the color blue. Now, it is actually proven that, for instance, boys would rather pick a product that is blue than a product that is pink. And that is not even, through being raised a certain way, that is just somehow how it is. So basically the scientific world is not really sure about the reasoning behind that yet, but we can already use the knowledge about it that this is the case in order to brand our products. So girls are most of the time interested, for instance, in the color pink, especially little girls, or up to, let's say, the age of 12, 13, 14. And then of course the grown-up women are often then also interested, for instance, in products that are associated with love and with romance, whether it's a bra, whether it's, even perhaps the color of a car, or whether it's a certain kind of clothing that makes her look good. They're then interested, or let's say they decide for products that are pink. Then dark red, of course, is a color of rage, of anger, of leadership, of courage, willpower, wine, Tuscany, and wrath. Now, for instance, if you want to open up a personal development shop for books or something like that, or if you want to start a blog or something like that, if you have a Shopify store that you want to fill up with books and videos about that topic, about, for instance, leadership, about courage, about willpower, then definitely dark red is what you want to go for. So dark red is one of the colors that is really associated with leadership, with courage, with willpower. But also if you want to brand it, for instance, for a certain location, for instance, the Tuscany, then dark red is a great color as well. For instance, if you want to sell wine, this is definitely one of the colors that you want to go with. Now, there is one rule of thumb that you can remember, and that is, if, for instance, the color of the actual product, not necessarily the packaging, but the product, if the color of the product is, let's say, dark red or something like that, you can also brand the website like that. So let's say, for instance, a wine. Wine most of the time is very dark red. So you can brand the website in the same color, or of course you can use a very, let's say, neutral color such as white, or perhaps such as gray, or for instance, black. So dark red is a color of rage, of anger, but also of course of a certain region, for instance in Italy, the Tuscany. And then brown, stability, close to nature. For instance, if you're interested in veganism, if you want to sell vegan cookbooks, then perhaps this is the color you should decide yourself for. But if you want to sell something else, or if you want to start a personal blog about something associated with close to the nature, or for instance with stability, then of course you can use that color. Now, are there many blogs which are in brown? No, not really. Because again, most people don't really write about stability. Stability is one of these topics that, is difficult to put into a certain, let's say, frame, because, what product is exactly, let's say, connected to stability? Not many. That's why a lot of blogs are not brown, but actually, for instance, they just have a white background, or they have a red background, or they have a blue background, or something like that, but most of the time not brown. But anyway, then let's cover the next one, which is reddish brown. So for instance, harvest and fall. If you want to sell some kind of jackets for the fall or something like that, then this is the color that you want to go with, that kind of reddish brown. So in this video now, we talked about the meaning of certain colors. So we talked about red in general. We talked about light red, about pink, about dark red, brown, and reddish brown. Now the examples that I gave you, for instance, for light red was a lingerie shop. Then for pink was, for instance, girls' toys. For instance, for little girls that are like 4 or 5 years old, whether it's a Barbie or a toy car. Then we had the example of personal development shop for books and for videos, for instance, for dark red. Then for brown, we had the vegan cookbooks shop. And then for reddish brown, we had the jacket shop. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see each other in the next video.